Hi, my name is Tai Fujimura. I'm the CEO of Cantilever Web Design and Development. And one of the topics that's been really on my mind the last couple of days, in particular, is accessibility. Accessibility on the web is something that we care about very deeply at Cantilever. It's a kind of fundamental part of our approach to building websites, and something that's very difficult, and that we make plenty of mistakes in, but something that we are constantly endeavoring to do better and deliver better experiences. And someone asked me recently about sort of the definition of accessibility, and I thought it was a good opportunity to make a little video about how accessibility fits in with our overall philosophy and why it's something that's so important to us. So to summarize, website accessibility means making sure that a website that you build is as usable as possible for people with the broadest possible needs in terms of what they're able to, how they're able to interact with a computer and use any sort of device. And so that means that people who have motor impairments or visual impairments, or in some cases auditory impairments, or people who have sort of temporary conditions that affect their ability to use a device, that anyone in any circumstance has the best possible experience they can with your website. So obviously, there are circumstances where it's going to be very, very difficult because of the nature of certain material and things like that. But what you want to do in promoting accessibility is ensure that for the broadest amount of people in the broadest amount of circumstances, the website that you're building works well. And so it's not really sort of an esoteric thing. It's not something that you can kind of add on to a website. You can't really take a website and make it accessible. It doesn't really work that way. It has to be ingrained in your process from the beginning, because if you get to the end of a project, it's likely that even the concept and the nature of the website is going to be flawed or limiting in some way when it comes to accessibility. So from the very, very beginning of designing and even visualizing what a website or web app, digital product will be, one needs to take accessibility into account in order to ensure that the final result is as accessible as it possibly can be. Now, what is the reason? So our mission, our philosophy at Cantilever is called digital hospitality. And this is the idea that a website is a space that people enter rather than it being a sort of billboard or broadcast that they experience as a third party. So a website is a lot more like your physical place of business. It's somewhere that you're welcoming customers into. You want them to have a good experience. You want them to feel like they're in the right place, and you want to give them a reason to come back. And obviously, when you're building a space, you need to make sure that that space is accessible to as many people as possible. So it doesn't make sense to have a ornate staircase up to your store, because no matter how wonderful your store is, there are going to be a lot of people who can't climb that staircase for various reasons. So it's very important that when you build a physical location for a business, that it's accessible to as many people as possible, because you don't want to lose business, but because it's also the right thing to do. It's morally right to do. And luckily in the US, we have a law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, that ensures legally that, even though this is something you should want to do anyway, as a business owner, you're obligated under the law that if you build a place of business, that it needs to be accessible to people with disabilities. And that law has actually been judged to apply to websites as well. And the jurisdiction of it is a little bit fuzzy, especially because the ADA was written in the 90s prior to the internet being widespread. But nonetheless, it does apply, and you need to consider its principles and its intention when you're building digital products. So when we are thinking of a digital product as similar to a physical space, obviously it's incumbent on us to make sure that for as many people as possible, they are able to experience the site the way that it's intended. And the way that we think about this, as I said, it's not a crutch. It's not something we need to be adding at the end to correct things. It's something we want to design into the system from the beginning, so that the user interface of someone with a keyboard and a mouse on a computer is considered just as much as someone on a mobile device, and just as much as someone who's using a screen reader or someone who's using assistive technology. They're basically different surface areas, different angles on which one might be using the product. And it's important that when we're building a site that we consider every single one of those angles and make sure that we're testing to make sure that those experiences are good. So it's a good little quick recap. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you'd like any more detail on this topic. Thank you.